Have you ever seen someone lose everything? Not because of bad luck, but because they crossed the wrong person? This isn't one of those stories about karma that takes years to unfold. No, this one hit fast. And it started with a single unpaid invoice. They say you should always pay your accountant, especially if you've got skeletons in your closet. Because one day, those skeletons might come dancing out in broad daylight. My name is Ruth Moore, and I'm from New York City. What started as a simple night of drinks with a friend turned into the most jaw-dropping revenge story I've ever witnessed. Before I dive in, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. So, I had this close friend. We'll call him Ethan. Ethan's an accountant. Smart, funny, a little sarcastic, but really good at what he does. He owned his own small accounting firm, mostly helping local bar and club owners around the city. But there was one client that always rubbed him the wrong way, Rory, a guy named Scott. Scott owned 4 clubs and bars in 2 different cities, and every single one of them was packed on the weekends. But Scott? He was shady, always paid late, always had an excuse. And from what Ethan told me, he owed him thousands in unpaid invoices. One night, I was at Ethan's apartment. We were just hanging out, drinking a couple of beers, and he started ranting about a client who still hadn't paid. He didn't want to say who it was at first, but after a few minutes, he blurted out, "It's Scott." I was shocked, because I actually went to one of Scott's bars every Thursday for poker night. It was always packed. So I said, "Business is down?" "That's weird. The place is slammed every time I'm there." That's when Ethan looked at me with this glint in his eyes and said, "Really?" The next few weeks, Ethan became obsessed. He started to suspect that Scott was lying, underreporting his income to dodge taxes and cheat his accountant. He figured out why Scott offered that 15% discount for paying in cash. Because cash is untraceable. That's when Ethan decided he was going to investigate. And oh, did he do it thoroughly. He visited every one of Scott's 4 bars. He wrote down prices, checked inventory, payroll, rent, insurance, everything. He compared the amount of alcohol Scott bought to the amount of income he claimed to make. And what he found? Scott was underreporting at least 35 to 40% of his total revenue. Ethan stayed up late for weeks, cross-checking every receipt, every bottle, every sale. He discovered Scott had been doing this for years, lying to the IRS, lying to his accountant, lying to everyone. At that point, Scott owed Ethan thousands of dollars, enough to buy a brand new motorcycle. But instead of chasing Scott for the money, Ethan decided to let karma do the collecting. He called me one night and said, "Ruth, I'm done waiting. If he won't pay me, the IRS will." Ethan contacted a lawyer and gathered every shred of proof: invoices, supplier records, staff logs, POS data, everything showing Scott's real revenue. Then, with his lawyer's help, he filed a whistleblower report with the IRS. For those who don't know, if the IRS recovers unpaid taxes because of your information, you can earn 15 to 30% of what they collect. If Ethan's math was right, Scott had hidden over $4.5 million in unreported income. That meant Ethan could earn anywhere from $675,000 to $1.3 million. Then, the investigation started. Months passed. Scott had no idea what was coming. But behind the scenes, the IRS was quietly closing in. They looked into every transaction, every statement, every tax return, and when they finally moved, they moved fast. One morning, Scott's clubs were raided. IRS agents, federal investigators, everyone. By the time it was over, Scott was finished. Every one of his clubs seized, his assets frozen, his name destroyed. I remember when Ethan told me the news, he just smiled and said, It would have been cheaper for him to just pay me. He never told me the exact amount he got from the IRS, but he did say one thing: I don't have a mortgage anymore. That's when it hit me. All Scott had to do was pay his accountant, the man who helped him build everything. But greed blinds people. And when you cheat the wrong person, sometimes karma wears a suit and carries a clipboard. Ethan wasn't proud of it. Not exactly. He didn't do it out of spite. He did it out of justice. He gave Scott chances, reminders, warnings. But Scott ignored them all, and in the end, he destroyed himself. Sometimes revenge doesn't come from rage. Sometimes it's quiet, methodical, and written in numbers. So what's the lesson? Always do right by the people who keep your world in balance. Whether it's your accountant, your employees, or your friends. Don't take them for granted. Because the truth is, karma isn't always poetic. Sometimes it's perfectly calculated. This was Ruth Moore, sharing a story that reminded me that numbers don't lie, but people often do. If you made it this far, drop a fire emoji in the comments and tell me what you'd have done if you were in Ethan's shoes.
And if you love real-life stories with tough choices, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.